Hopefully I don't get copyright infringement for having Tom and Jerry playing in the background. As Netflix calls it, retro TV, which makes me feel old as fuck. Anyway, what's up, guys? My name is Kay. I was player 320 on Beast Games, and I wanted to have a conversation about something. I've been getting swarmed with questions. Thank you, first of all, for asking questions about Beast Games and what it was like to be on the show, what it was like to be in that world, the Beast world. And I feel like there's something that we really got to talk about, so I'm not going to dance around the topic. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. Also, my snake is eating right now, so if you don't like watching snakes eat mice, just don't look over here in this area. Okay, so there are a couple people online that have been trying to cancel Mr. Beast. I don't need to name them. You know who they are. We don't need to talk about it. But they're saying like things were unsafe, people weren't fed, blah, 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 blah. People got hurt. Okay, let's talk about it, okay? So, first of all, if you did get injured on Beast Games, they are paying for your medical bills. And they said that from the jump. So, if you are claiming that your medical bills haven't been paid for, or, I had somebody in my comments on TikTok say their sister got hurt and their medical bills weren't paid for. And to that person, I replied, well, your sister did not follow up with Beast Games. They should keep following up with Beast Games until that is sorted. I had to get an x-ray on my leg from the trapdoor fall. And my medical bills were covered by Beast. I just had to get an x-ray. There was nothing broken. I did have a bone bruise and some muscle tears in my leg, but nothing was broken. I literally had a phone call with them last night following up on that. They apologized for, the delay and things, obviously with the holidays and with all the craziness surrounding Beast Games, getting the show finished, all that stuff. They've been a little busy. So if you haven't been compensated for that stuff, the email to email. So if you were on games and you got injured and you have not sent them an email or a follow-up email, you should definitely do that. But if you were injured at all, if you had a cut, a scrape, anything, they are covering medical they're compensating you for medical bills. So just keep that in mind. But this is what I wanted to talk about. Okay. Whoa, here we go. So first of all, this comes with a little bit of a backstory, so excuse me for kind of rambling on, but I feel like it's colorful, like the context is important. So my favorite band is called Medina Lake. They've been a band for a long time, and the singer and the bass player are twin brothers, and back in the day, they actually competed on Fear Factor Twins. They ended up winning, which is how they were able to fund their career in music with Medina Lake. But when they were on Fear Factor, their band was called The Blank Theory. This was back during like MySpace days. And so I kind of followed them from there. They were one of the bands that I would see every time they were in my hometown. And my mom got sick of taking me to their shows because I would go so often. And she was like, my parents actually had to limit me to one concert a month, which is hilarious, seeing as now that I'm a touring musician and a videographer that tours with bands to create content for bands on the road. So I get to go to concerts as much as I freaking want. And I have a bunch of friends that are on the crews of different artists. So concert life is just my favorite. The twins from Medina Lake were on Fear Factor. One of the stunts they had to do was they had to crawl through a trough of dead cow parts. I'm going to put the footage up, so I'm sorry if this makes you queasy. But yeah, they had to crawl through a trough of dead cow parts, rip off chunks of meat with their teeth, crawl back through the trough, put the meat in a little meat grinder, grind it up, and then the other twin had to drink that. It's fucking disgusting, right? Well, that's not even the story. That's pretty gross, but it's Fear Factor. You kind of sign up for the eating stuff, which, by the way, we didn't have to do any of that on Beast Games, but like I was prepared because I grew up loving and watching Fear Factor. So that being said, all the contestants that competed, I think it was 12 of them. I think it was 14 or what, 6 teams, 4 teams. I don't know. All the contestants ended up getting parasites because of this stunt. So they had to halt filming for, I believe it was 12 days. I actually asked the twins about this later. We are friends now, which is hilarious. But I asked them about this, and I think they told me 12 days they had to halt filming so everyone could go get treated for fucking parasites in the hospital. And Fear Factor obviously compensated them and covered the medical bills and all that stuff. And then they continued filming Fear Factor. And like I said, the twins went on to win Fear Factor. And the reason I bring this up is because nobody caused a fuss. Nobody tried to sue Fear Factor because they, like us in Beast Games, signed a contract that said you may get hurt. You may deal with like mental stress. This is a high intensity, a high, like very stressful situation. Also in the contract for Beast Games, it definitely says like you can be defamed. You can be made to look a certain way in editing. So like we all signed off on this shit. Also, I did have somebody comment on my TikTok when I brought this point up and they said, whoa, defamed on TV? Like, no thanks. And I said, okay, well, literally don't ever sign a contract for any reality show because this is in every contract for every reality show on the planet. You can be made to look a certain way in editing. You sign off on that when you sign up for these shows. So if you don't want to be made to look a certain way, maybe don't do reality TV. Also, if you want to know how we got on Beast Games, how the audition or submission process worked, I did make a video on that. I'll put a card up there and a link in the description if you want to know more about that process. But the reason I bring all this up with Fear Factor is, like I said, nobody caused a fuss online. But again, this was back during like MySpace era. So I think that this era of like cancel culture bullshit is insane and everyone really just wants like their moment of fame. And a lot of these people are like disgruntled people that were eliminated from previous things that they might have been involved with, which is why they are trying to hold this flag of like, fuck Mr. Beast. Okay. And it's not like, life ain't fair. You signed up for a game and you didn't win that game. I'm sorry about it, but it's a game. It's just a game. Like you can do other things with your life than shit on one person forever. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's ridiculous that people are basically coming out and saying like all these, I mean, it's just like false information or just not the whole story. Or they didn't do their due diligence in, you know, following up about things like medical bills or things like that. So you just got to keep like following up with people. It's the same like if you have an insurance claim and you're waiting for them to pay you out, they are hoping that you stop calling them so they don't have to pay you out because they in the mind of an insurance company is like the less we can pay out, the more we get to keep. So they are hoping you forget that they owe you money and you just like let it go and give up. But if you want to get paid out by insurance, you got to call them every day until they freaking pay you out. That's just how it works. I'm not comparing Beast's team to an insurance company, but I'm just saying you have to follow up and you have to do your part because they are dealing with 1,000, 2,000 contestants. That's a lot of fucking people. And their team isn't that big to deal with every single person on an individual basis. So you just have to keep following up. And yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. I just think it's silly, honestly, at this point that people are like trying to cancel Jimmy over things that they signed up for and signed off on and that they didn't do their part in like following up about certain things that, you know, you should just know to follow up on things like this. So that being said, Beast Games was sick. I would love to do season 2. I know there's a lot of players that would love to go back and do season 2. It's interesting to see all the internet, like, it's very like divided right now, but I feel like it's definitely more on Beast's side right now, which is sick. It's obviously #1 on Amazon in like 60 countries, which is dope. It's crazy the amount of texts I've gotten from friends, the amount of DMs I've gotten from friends, the amount of messages I've gotten from people who I'm not really close friends with, but they're now all of a sudden like, hey, what's up, buddy? Fuck. I didn't even win money. Like I got paid to be there, but like I didn't win anything. And that's the last thing I want to talk about. Like, what would I have done if I made it farther? So what I would have done if I had made it past my game that my team got eliminated on, in the game after that, which was another like row elimination, if I had made it to the city, which, by the way, if you don't know how I got out, I've also made videos about that. I fell through a trapdoor. It was a whole experience. But if I had made it to the city, what I would have done is I would have made myself a team captain, or I would have gotten myself elected as a team captain. And I would have been able to become a team captain based off of the fact that Dino, the ex-firefighter that everyone thought was going to take the $1 million, he and I were actually team captains on the platform game in Vegas, where it was 100 people on a platform. So we somehow became team captains for that challenge. And it was sick. It was so cool to like help people get through this challenge. And So I would have tried to become a team captain because I did have people that were at those previous challenges that know that I was a good leader. And to be honest, this is what I would have done. I would have taken the money. So I would have hit it before it hit 1 million because that was obviously the number it was going to. I would have hit it right before 1 million, eliminated the team. I know, horrible person. But in the next challenge, which was the cubes, the box game, I would have self-sacrificed in that game. I would have handcuffed myself to that fucking wall, and I would have been like, I got my money, you guys keep going. It would have been over in fucking 5 seconds if I had made it that far. That's just what I would have done because 1, like, you get money out of it, and 2, everybody loves a good redemption arc. And I feel like a lot of players in this show, especially like, so you saw, I can't remember his number, but Connor, the drag queen that basically didn't upkeep his word and eliminated his whole pod of 3. Even though like he picked the game to play and then complained when he didn't make his bottle cap in the bag and then decided not to keep his word. I feel like people like that are forgetting that this goes beyond just a small TV show. This is the biggest TV show on the planet right now and the biggest audience globally. This is going to affect you outside of just this show. This is going to affect you in your personal life, in your professional life, in every aspect of life, because people forevermore will know you as the person that did that. So like, you got to keep that in mind, which is why I say like, I would have taken the money and then self-sacrificed in the next game because everyone loves a good redemption arc. And I would have been the person that like redeemed myself. So that's what I personally would have done. But I'm curious to know, how far do you think you would have made it in Beast Games? And what would you have done in these situations, given the information that you know? Obviously, there's so much that went on behind the scenes. I've been talking to a couple people on the production team, and it's just been fascinating to hear their perspective on like certain things. Like in episode 3, people were asking for like a horse and for dogs and like all kinds of shit. And people were like commenting on Twitter and things saying, well, couldn't they just ask for money or something? So no, you couldn't ask for money, you couldn't ask for immunity, and anything you asked for in those boxes, you could not take out of the boxes with you. So you can't take anything home. Obviously, you can't take money. And you, like I said, you can't ask for immunity in the challenge. So those were like the parameters. And then some of the things were already on site, like the horse, like somebody went to the bathroom, I guess, and saw the horse on set. And they were like, we should ask for that horse. They were also like, I'm sure, given a list of like things they could ask for that were on hand. And then I guess they probably had people like on standby to go pick up other things at stores. It's just so funny to hear kind of the behind the scenes. Also, last thing I want to like tell you guys, I have a podcast called Project Freelance, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because while I was in Vegas, we finished the challenge, and I asked one of the production guys, hey, who is the FPV drone pilot? Because I'm a drone pilot videographer by trade. I make documentaries and music videos and all kinds of stuff. But I was like, who is the drone pilot? I would love to have them on my podcast. And they couldn't tell me at the time because they were not letting us like speak to production really. And like, if you knew someone on production, you had to kind of disclose it with them because they didn't want that to influence your placement in the games in future games or help you at all in future games by like knowing any inside information or anything like that. So they couldn't tell me who this drone pilot was. But thanks to, I think it was John Uche. I can't remember who it was that did behind the scenes of this specific thing in Vegas. Anyway, whoever did behind the scenes in Vegas, they actually interviewed the drone pilot and they showed his like his company logo on his drone box and introduced him. So I looked him up on Instagram, shot him an email, and I was like, yo, I would love to introduce you. I would love to interview you on my podcast about freelancing, about how you got started, about how you got on the Beast team. And then he actually created a mechanism that allows the camera on his drones to tilt up and down with the movement of his head. So the operator has those goggles on. So he made a mechanism that when you tilt your head up and down, the camera actually does that, which is insanely cool because most drones, the camera is fixed on them. So you don't have a lot of like movement. You have to physically like move the drone. But the fact that he made this mechanism is just wild to me, and my team could really use something like that. So definitely going to pick his brain more about that. So yeah, if you're interested in checking that out, that will be on my other YouTube channel and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The show is called Project Freelance. It'll be, I'm going to try to interview him within the next couple of days because he's got to leave to go film some stuff. If not, it'll be like more towards the end of January. But yeah, that was just some insight on my opinions about like people trying to cancel Mr. Beast. And the last thing, I know I've said that 3 times, but the last thing I will say, if you guys think that Beast Games was crazy, look up the reason that Fear Factor got canceled, okay? I'm not going to disclose it here. Just go Google it. And I'm sorry that I told you to Google this because it's disgusting. But yeah, go look up why Fear Factor was canceled and then get back to me and tell me that Mr. Beast was bad in any way, because the reason Fear Factor was canceled is actually insane. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. I hope this helped clear some things up and help some contestants that may need more information and help the audience get a better perspective into Beast Games. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Stay strong, keep enduring. I will see you in the next one. Go check out my other channels. I make a lot of different types of content. Music, I explore abandoned places, and I film rocket launches at SpaceX with my team at Interstellar Gateway. We will be at Starbase for the January 10th launch. Let's go! See you guys.